All right, hi everybody. Welcome to Introducing Emotionary with Rashmi and Josh. I'm Josh Metz, therapist with Ashburn Psychological and Psychiatric Services.
And I'm Rashmi Rogers. I'm the CEO of Monkeys and Bears, and really
So
excited to meet you.
Thanks for joining us and or thanks for watching. What we'd like to do is just spend a short amount of time introducing you to our Emotionary app and giving you some information as to why we really think this can be an important and powerful tool to augment the client-therapist relationship. So Rashmi will walk us through how the app works, and then I will pepper it with things that are more therapist-centric.
All right, let's get going. I'm basically going to just share my phone with you. And so
Right. As we call it, Rashmi, what is emotionary?
Emotionary is a tool that can help your client collect data about how they're feeling, make short notes about causation or events that happen when they feel that way, and record it. So they have a good idea of the data from the time in between therapy sessions.
Mm-hmm. So it's a way for them to, in a moment, take an opportunity to kind of stop, drop in, and assess what's my emotional state right now? How am I feeling?
Absolutely. And for those who are not in therapy, this works as a great first step in really understanding your mind. When we built this app, we focus a lot on psychoeducation. That's one of the things we learned was important and easily delivered on a digital platform. So this is the home screen. And you can see when the biggest call to action here is the check-in that I'll show you in a moment. But in this, just kind of go over a couple things on this homepage. We have a video strip here, which was recorded by everybody in our group to talk about, simple concepts to explain the neuroscience behind our feelings. Did I say that correctly, Josh?
You sure did. And they're designed to be short. They're designed to be not very long, a minute or less, in order to really get that message out there. And as you'll see, it's either going to be built into the app as something that we offer as a result of the person putting in a feeling or an emotional state. And we say, boy, it might be helpful to learn a little bit more about this emotion. Here's a short video, or here's something you can do about it. A lot of it's based on the person putting in their information, but we also just want to make it available. So the person might want to open up the app and just like scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, they can scroll through and look at a couple of videos about different emotions and what they are, but most importantly, what they do for us.
So we'll look at one of these towards the end of our presentation. And let me just walk you through the app's flow. So the user comes in here, clicks check-in, and then a list of primary emotions comes up. And the reason we approached it this way was, these are the larger buckets that people always tend to characterize their emotions with. For example, we hear things like, I feel stressed. Okay, so go ahead and say, I'm stressed. How stressed do you feel? Another way to say, how much is this emotion affecting you right now? So let's say I'm very stressed. Then I go to the next page. And this is where we have broken it down into secondary emotions. This applies to me all the time. Stress is just such a large word, but a lot of times I'm not feeling worried, but feeling overwhelmed or frustrated. So that was the idea behind the secondary emotions.
Mm-hmm. And from a therapist perspective, think about what we've already provided to our clients or to anybody using this app. Either they'll get a reminder, and we have it set up so right now 3 times a day you'll get a reminder, just like all the other apps out there, and all of a sudden you'll get the message, hey, time to check in with Emotionary. So you click on it, and then within one click you've got the 7 primary emotions. You're now in a state where you're stopping what you're doing, dropping in, and asking that important question, how do I feel, given those choice? And then we want you to do a little bit more. Let's clarify a little bit more. We've again already created a dynamic where a person is stopping what they're doing, their conscious train of thought, and turning it inward. I feel really stressed. Well, what kind of stress do you feel? Overwhelmed, tired, anxious? I'm overwhelmed because, and then one screen later, we give them the opportunity to say, hey, why don't you do a quick journal entry? Why don't you write down in a few words what you're feeling? Next, we give them a little psychoeducation about how feelings can be overwhelming. These again are designed to be very short, something quickly that you can access. The whole thing should take less than a minute in terms of checking in, going through, and maybe even accessing one of these exercises or this little bit of psychoeducation.
So, Josh, how about we try one of these suggestions here?
Sure.
So, how about the breathing exercise here?
Yep.
Square
Okay.
breathing.
Mhm. So again, we took one of the standard breathing exercises, of which there are many, and there are more and more coming out. Our goal is to provide a few different types of breathing exercises and have that something as kind of a almost not a module, but a place you can go to. And if people like this kind of four square breathing, where you breathe in, inhale for 4 counts, pause, exhale, and pause. It's a very grounding breathing exercise. And once again, the idea is to get people to stop, drop in, and assess, and maybe even learn a little bit about themselves.
Yep, my 12-year-old memorized it and she seems to really like it. So
Mm-hmm.
grateful to have that for her. Um, So these are some of the additional activities that, our suggestions page can lead you to, or, you can come in here and try them yourselves. A task list, we have an active task list. So this allows, obviously, emotions where you feel stuck, where you feel not very motivated. We will say, well, write down a little task list and then pick up one small thing and do it. So that's the idea of the active task list. So you can check off things that you've already done and move on. I wrote that task down this morning and I was able to get my walk in today.
Nice.
There's again mindfulness. Like Josh said, these are, um, just sample activities that a person can use. And as the first step in understanding what might work for a person, if mindfulness seems to be working for them, then there are lots of other mindfulness activities that a person can access. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's
And,
look at the gym.
and in a way, Rashmi, we've been very mindful, yuck, yuck, about not having the app as a mindfulness app, not saying the problem is with everybody is they need to be more mindful. Well, there's an element of assuming we already know what they know, and all they need to know are these few tricks in mindfulness, and then everything will be better. We actually want to take a few steps back from mindfulness and say, can we all agree on what happy is? Can we all agree what stress is? Do we think that lazy is an emotion? Is lazy a character flaw, or is lazy just a misnomer? That it's actually something underneath it. So we want to take a few steps back and say, let's just start with feelings and giving people information. I think we as therapists understand this. Giving people a little bit of information about what they feel, where their feelings come from, and the fact that they can't control their feelings, as in, I just want to bring up happiness or make sadness go away. But with more understanding, you can gain some more control over what the emotion does to you and how you can maybe sometimes harness the energy that an emotion has to improve your current station or anything you want to do in your day. So we were really mindful about starting with, let's just make sure we're on the same page about emotions, what they do, and what you can do, and the power of beginning to monitoring your emotions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Josh. And another feature that we've built in, and this is again feedback from therapists and users. So this is a stats area where you see your emotions for that day. there is a little bubble chart here which talks about, the time of the day where you felt that emotion and how strongly you felt that is the size of the bubble. And the reason we put this in here was, if you see the same emotion at the same time of the day every day for a week or two, that might be something to talk about the next time you see your client. One of the features that might be very helpful in a patient therapist relationship is for the client to be able to generate a PDF of the prior week, and be able to email it to the therapist. The one thing you'll notice here is, we've been very careful with really giving the control of the app and all this information to the client. So they would have to be proactive in sending this file to you, sending their data to you, and making it available for a better therapy conversation the next time they're in office to see you. So this can just be emailed out, just like any email that you would send. That's how it's been designed.
Mhm. So there's
Um,
all the agency of sharing stays with the user, and we were really thoughtful about that. We talked about maybe building into the app. Well, let me just put my therapist's name in there and automatically send them reports. My therapy colleague of mine, Dr. Abe Stern, and I and Rashmi talked a lot around that, and we realized that's giving up a little too much control. We kind of like the idea that you even have to take an extra step in order to send it. So you're really mindful of, okay, I'm sending this information I've been collecting on my phone in my possession to somebody else. And that extra next step is kind of like when you provide therapy in a sliding scale, as we social workers quite often do. We always want to charge something, even if it's $1, to give the person a sense they're sacrificing something for this therapeutic relationship. And very often, that's the thing that makes it stick, particularly for people who feel they might not have the means to do it. So we borrow that idea and that concept of self agency, and we're really applying it with thoughtfulness to this component of the app.
Absolutely. Agency is very, very important. One of the hypotheses we have is creating this type of a PDF of their emotional states throughout the week and sending it to the therapist would actually encourage that follow up visit. One of the big unfortunate data points we see is the average number of visits is just a little over one across the board. So, a tool like this we feel should encourage patients to go to that second or third visit. Um, Okay, so that's really kind of all we have here.
Yeah.
Um, happy to share, the links to some of these really cool videos.
Mm-hmm.
But, just kind of taking a look at time right now, I think we'll stop here. And if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to us, and we'd love to share some more with you.
That's great. Rashmi, could you bring it back one more time? I want to highlight something on the app, particularly if you could bring up the report again.
I will attempt to do that, but I can't promise.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes,
All right,
it
awesome.
is happening. It is cooperating.
Yep.
Good.
All right, there we go. We had a few glitches when we first got started, so we appreciate you bearing with us. Right. So scroll. So right here, stop right here. Scroll down a little bit.
Down.
So as a therapist, how often have we asked, a person comes in and they're just kind of in a depressed state. Nothing has been going right. And we've been working with them to help them understand that, feeling your feelings are free, your behavior has a cost, but more importantly, feelings are transient, that you're feeling bad now, but you will change your emotional state later. I just feel terrible. I don't feel anything. Well, how often have we asked, well, can you recall a time this past week when you might have felt happy? No, I can't think about that. And you really can't, because when you're in a depressed state, it's hard to think about another emotional state that you were in. Well, right here, we have the actual data that says on this day at around 9 o'clock, you were pretty darn happy. In fact, you noted that as the biggest emotion you felt all day. What was going on then? Oh, yeah, I remember I got a call from my cousin and we were going to do something together. So you felt happy then. Talk to me more about that. And before you know it, we've done exactly what we want to do sometimes in therapy is to create that condition of shift that the client does. We're not pulling it out of them. These are their own words. This is their own data. That's what they reported. And we're just reflecting back to them. You do have the agency. You do have the power to look back on your autobiographical past and pick an emotional state, pick a moment that's different than the way you feel now. So I think this is probably the most powerful aspect of this tool when we think about creating something in the space between therapy appointments. So thank you,
I,
Rashmi. Thank you everybody for doing that. But I really think this is going to be something pretty powerful as we get into the hands of our clients.
and that's exactly what I'm looking for. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. Check out our website. It's emotionary.ai, and you'll get some more information there. The app is now available on Google Store and Apple App Store also.
Yes, and thank you
Again,
everybody for coming. We did make a recording of this, so we'll make sure to follow up and send the practice a recording of it, as well as a link to the emotionary.ai.